You can't sleep either? What if we tried counting something together? I have an idea, because apparently last time I looked a bit foolish in the last episode trying to count to 10. So I thought, let's build on that. Let's count 10 deaths by embarrassment. 1. After a long, successful career selling pulpy fiction, author Morton Devaney died of acute embarrassment during a reading of his first non-fiction book. A frequent theme of his fiction had been embarrassment, and in his non-fiction book he explicitly addressed it for the very first time. Unfortunately, he still couldn't spell it. And to make it worse, he didn't just spell it wrongly, he spelled it differently every single time. When his audience laughed for the 12th time in a row in the very first chapter, he blushed so hard his head exploded. But I mean, come on, it's got 2 R's, 2 S's, 2 A's, 2 E's and 2 M's. I mean, does that even sound like a real word to you? 2. The reason you've never seen a duvet, pillow or eiderdown, that's a doona to our Australian friends, being made is that ducks die of embarrassment if seen without their feathers. Factories which harvest down are therefore kept pitch black at all times. So even the people who work there have never actually seen it. The 2005 down shortage was caused by documentary filmmaker Michael Moore breaking into dozens of down factories with a film crew to prove this theory is not correct. 3. Jim Valance used to have recurring dreams or nightmares about turning up at his place of work without trousers. Unable to take it anymore, he resolved that henceforth he will go to work without trousers in real life. But that very first night, he dreamed he had turned up to work wearing trousers while all his colleagues were bottomless. Somehow that was so much worse, it killed him. 4. While attempting to toilet train her dog, Martha Braintree wanted to speed things up one night while they were alone together in the park. Her dog, Major, had just eaten an extra-large dinner as a treat for being a good boy, so she knew he had to go, and if she could get him to go now, then she'd be able to have a lion in the morning for a change. But it was taking ages, so she decided to show Major exactly what she wanted from him. She dropped her trousers and squatted down on the grass. However, they weren't alone in the park, and an elderly couple discovered her. That was bad enough, but it didn't kill her. It was when Major muttered sorry to the couple and scooped up her mess that embarrassment claimed her. 5. Stunt skydiver Lucky Barrel almost experienced a miraculous escape when his parachute failed to deploy while attempting to break the world record for most airborne somersaults while skydiving. When his lines got tangled, he faced certain death on impact with the ground. However, he was so dizzy from the somersaults that his sense of direction failed spectacularly, to such an extent that he missed the ground completely. It was the embarrassment of failing to hit the world's biggest target, the ground, which therefore finished him off, rather than the ground itself. 6. Ecological activist Hans Haberer loved trees and didn't care if people called him a tree hugger or anything else. However, he was unable to face the embarrassment after an ayahuasca trip gave him the power to understand what his beloved trees were saying. When he discovered they found him a bit clingy and suffering from body odour, he imploded. 7. When he watched the recording of his very first TED Talk later at home, it was on how to use cellophane wrapping without losing one's temper, Paul Potter's pride quickly turned to acute embarrassment, and he died of embarrassment-induced appendicitis. The whole time he had had a huge piece of spinach stuck between his front teeth. It glared greenly at his audience whenever he smiled. And as he had a severe vegetable allergy, Paul could not remember ever having eaten spinach. 8. Heavy metal band Vomit of Pain released 3 albums before calling it a day. It was actually their manager's suggestion. The band members went on to work at various well-respected and well-paying jobs. Pukey, drums, worked for an accounting company. Wretch, lead guitar and vocals for a recruitment company. Spew, guitar, worked for an advertising agency. And Carrot Chunks, bass, worked in the compliance sector. It wasn't the embarrassment their fans might believe they had sold out that killed them. It was the realisation, after 15 years of climbing the corporate ladder, that they hadn't needed to be giving their manager 15% of their pay all this time. 9. Alfred Coca, the man who actually invented Coca-Cola, liked to tease the poor boys in his neighbourhood by sticking a quarter to a length of fishing line, then driving slowly down the street to make the starving wretches run. He enjoyed this game so much that one year he even dressed as a poor boy himself for a celebrity charity Halloween ball. Having arrived at the event early, he stopped for a cigar on the street outside before going in. There he noticed a quarter on the ground. When he bent to pick it up, a car engine started and the quarter moved. When he realised that some other rich person thought he was poor, his lungs seized and he asphyxiated of embarrassment. 10. Renowned fantasy author Martin Flashmore was zapped into the world he had created through his books one day by Orthenia, the goddess of women. Now, Orthenia loved fantasy and was ploughing her way through Flashmore's canon. He wrote great dragons and sword fights, but the way he breasted women angered her. For those who don't know, breasting is a technical writing term. It's how male authors attempt empathy with their female characters, hoping to understand the female experience. Even if you were unaware of the term, you've no doubt come across it in practice. For example, the warm, magical sun shone down on the enchanted forest of Prally. When Mariam entered the forest, it shone on her breasts too, making them feel warm and magical. Or, as Alish swung the mighty sword Demon Tongue to cleave the orc's body in twain, her breasts swung too under her armour. They really got into it. Or, it was raining in the alley as Cassie raised the gun. She aimed it at her tormentor's head, ready to finally extinguish his evil life. Even in this moment, one she had fought so hard to achieve, she couldn't help thinking about how wet and glistening her breasts must be getting. Anyway, after Orthenia transported Flashmore into his books, it killed him. Possibly of embarrassment when he finally realised just how much breasting was going on, or possibly it was terror, for although he prided himself on giving his female characters great names and breasts, he had never really thought about giving them faces. Ooh. All right. Good night.